Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Go to the church, though.
Tawali man, what's up?
Man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanye now, do you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly. Because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issue.
8th of April 2025. I welcome you again to this edition of the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. We're always here every Monday, starting from 7 to 9 p.m., having a conversation on some of the issues that are happening in Uganda. And we have these conversations, as I tell you, to make Uganda better, really for us who are living today, but also for the generations that are yet to come. We are saddened that this last week we lost two gentlemen. One is retired Major John Baseija Kazora. May his soul rest in peace. He actually left us last week and he was laid to rest in Western Uganda. We shall be talking about that particular gentleman. And still on a sad note, this morning we have received news of the death of Sam Omara, former Assistant Superintendent of Police. And of course, he will always be remembered during the Walk to Work protests and some of the activities and the issues that have been happening in the past. So it is with a sad heart that I inform you of the death of Sam Omara. May his soul rest in peace. We shall be touching on those issues, but also later on we shall look at political parties and of course how ready are they and how do we avoid really divisions and disruptions, especially in the political system. How can political parties be able to reduce such challenges, and of course what can be done to address those particular issues. This evening I'm privileged to be joined by the Director for External Affairs at the National Resistance Movement, Major Pollar Awich, retired. And I also have a journalist, the CEO, the spy, that is Mr. Andrew Irumba. And lastly, definitely not least, is Charles Kazooba, who is the Executive Director for the Center for African Affairs and Diplomatic Studies. You're most welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Greetings to our viewers.
Good evening, sir. I'm going to start with you, retired Major. And I want to hear what you have to say in your opening remarks, first of all, but also on the death of, I'll start with John Kazora, retired Major John Kazora. He served with you in the bush. He was one of the gentlemen who led this government into power. He is even a former member of parliament. What's your comment on this gentleman as we start? This gentleman, sorry.
Thank you so much. My initial comment is to show how happy I am to be here today, because it is this forum that makes me share my views with the viewers, but also answer questions where need be on issues that some people feel like they need clarification. So I'm always happy to be here. I feel it is privileged because not everybody comes here.
Yes, sir.
And I'm therefore happy for you and the organizers of this show. In specific case about people we have lost, and starting with Kazora.
Yes, sir.
It is sad, of course. Kazora had his footmark, his contribution in the struggle for freedom in Uganda. You remember, he was one of those who left the university at that time when you would be sure of coming off from Makera and getting a job. But he preferred to go to the bush, and he did his part. I remember that time, liberated districts, so to say.
Yes.
The district administrators were called special district administrators. And for Kazora to be made SDA Kampala, which is a city then, was a very big appointment and trust put on him. So he did it, and he also went to legislature and he spoke his mind. And that is the essence of democracy. You can't all have the same views. He looked at it differently, and he continued to advocate for it. And those are some of the minor contradictions that we have in the movement. They can't be harmonious as usual. So
you may have been privileged to have met him, at least in the days when you were in the bush and young. How was his character as a person? How was he working?
He was open and friendly and very strong with his views and fearless. So he was good. And he commanded detaches, commanded companies before he reverted to, or even before, after some political work at the high command. So he was a good person. Now, leaving Kazora alone...
Before you leave that, by the time he left the National Resistance Movement, there are some issues he really did not align with, even to the time of his death. He even wrote a book, Betrayed by My Leader, showing some of the things that you have done wrong as the National Resistance Movement and the government that had taken power, that is still in power even up to today. Are his reasons valid in your perspective?
I think his reasons are not valid because his views can only be subjected to a democratic forum where consensus is reached. For example, if his view was that term limit shouldn't have been lifted or age limit shouldn't have been lifted, you just subject your views to the views of the all. So what comes out of that? Ideally in the movement we should have been governed by democratic centralism. Democratic centralism means you subject your views to the bigger majority. The consensus that come therein, you are bound by it. Now, if everybody would want his view to win, like for example we put a debate, should there be death penalty in our laws, or we should abolish death penalty, and you were strong for the abolition of death penalty, and the other view said no, we should maintain it, should you rebel? Because now if everybody's views should succeed, it doesn't make sense. We wouldn't.
How valid were his views?
You can only judge his validity of his views by the consensus reached. Okay? You can't now stand alone and say no.
So the mob is always right.
You can't stand alone and
is the mob
majority
right?
decision. You can't stand alone and say no, I'm the right one, I'm the right one. The only yardstick of valuing how right or wrong is how the consensus is reached, what the majority decide. I gave you the example of whether or not we should have death penalty or not. And for you, you are against death penalty. And the majority said no, considering the crime we have, those who commit crime like murder should also be murdered. And then death penalty takes place. I mean, wins. Should you say, no, me, I was right, it must be.
Lastly on this issue, do you think he was betrayed by his leader?
Well, the betrayal is his personal view, depending on his objectives, maybe personal objectives. But if it is for the movement objective, I think there was no betrayal.
Okay.
But if it is his personal objective, depending on what his targets were, maybe he feels betrayed. But for the bigger community, the NRM that we see moving on, we don't feel a betrayal. Now,
we shall come to Sam Omara. That is Major Pollar Awich, the Director for External Affairs at the National Resistance Movement. He's always here with us, informing us on his perspectives about the country. Mr. Irumba, I'll come to you. your comment, and what do you remember about Major John Baseija Kazora?
First of all, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the invitation extended to me this evening again, and of course I'm very humbled to be hosted alongside my senior elder in Pan-Africanism, Major Rtd Awich Pollar. He is my leader in Pan-Africanism, my elder, and of course I think I am the youngest amongst the three. My brother here, he's also my senior in journalism. I think he was there before me. I already used to listen to them, so it's my pleasure being here. So the youngest boy in the
You're welcome.
Number two, I want to send my really it was a bad day and a bad moment that we lost Major Kazora. His son, David Kazora, JK, is my very good buddy. He's my brother, he's my friend. And then number two, how I come to connect with the family. Major Kazora's wife, Kabasharira, was a business partner with Dr. Kiurankuba. They owned a radio station called Kampala African Radio at Kamocha, opposite Capital Radio. That was my first radio station to work with. And Kabasharira was our immediate boss, because Dr. Kiurankuba, I think, had other businesses. He would rarely come around. It is Honorable Kabasharira Naume who used to run it. So we were every day reporting to her, and that's how I came to connect with Kabasharira, and later on Dr. Kiurankuba. Then Dr. Kiurankuba later on took me to learn Pan-African. He was under him, personally handled me into initiating me into Pan-Africanism. So that's how I come to connect with the family.
Okay.
So to me, it's a big loss. Now, my elder senior here, it wouldn't be my responsibility really to react to his submission. I just wanted to say that Kazora has died not a happy man because of the reasons that took him to the bush. You know, somebody at that time, to leave Makerere University and then the bush,
Very young.
yes, there must have been something that was beyond money. Money was not the driving force. In fact, those people at the time,
Yes, sir.
they would be booked for very fat jobs in the government,
It's okay.
very fat jobs in the government,
Yes, sir.
when they were still in school
Yes.
at the university. They book you. They say, when you finish, please, your office is here.
Yes. Yeah.
Some of them even start working, you know, slowly, maybe over the weekends, when they are still studying, and they are paid good money.
Yes, sir.
So for somebody to have left university and then decided to join the bush, the same applies to retired General Mugisha Muntu. Those people, Dr. Retired Kano Besji,
Yes.
those people left university. Besji even left his job in Aga Khan, Nairobi, and joined the bush. So when Major Retired John Kazora says, betrayed by my leader, it's really coming from the bottom of his heart, and he means it and he knows it. So my elder, why he came in, is when he says, I think there was no betrayal. Maybe according to him as a person. He never went to the bush as for personal, personal aggrandizement or personal achievements. I think he went to the bush for patriotism, for nationalism, for Pan-Africanism. If you want to know that he was betrayed by his leader, you need to look at the 10-point program of the NRM that took them, because they went to the bush based on the 10-point program. Now you need to know, after 40 years, whether that 10-point program, if he was to be honest, my elder here, Major Awich Pollar, if we could go one by one, analyzing one by one, whether that 10-point program is still their focus. Then you'd know whether Kazura was lying, he was never betrayed, or he was actually betrayed.
So the 10-point program is the yardstick where we judge.
Yes.
Okay.
Those guys were very brilliant here. They were brilliant. They never went to the bush on something that was not achievable, on something that was not realistic, on something that was based on hearsay. They went to the bush on a clear cut-out agenda, which was even recited every morning on the parade by the commanders.
Okay.
Everybody had like a small note in their brain, in their pockets. They would remember every day what is our agenda. And the commanders would insist, this is not our agenda. That's why, if you raped a woman in the bush, your punishment was simple, death. Because it was not part of their 10-point program. You are deviating. It was very clear.
But Major
you stole somebody's cassava.
Yes, yeah, I get you.
And the civilian came and complained to the leadership. You would face it rough.
Major wrote about these things around 10 years, you can say, ago, or even more than that.
Yes.
But he has passed on when the issues he advocated for, one would say, are still here.
That's the point I'm saying, that my elder, Major Awich Pollar, wouldn't be correct to say, I think he was not betrayed by his leader. He believes, and everybody can see with plain eyes, that there is a problem.
Okay.
Let me also ask you.
As you conclude.
As I conclude. Major Awich Pollar, Major John Kazura has died not a very, wealthy man. Actually, part of the reason he has died that early is because he could not afford some of his bills. This, they don't say it. But Kazura was a bit distressed by the hospital bills.
At least what they can say is that Mr. Museveni was supportive in that process.
You see,
even with their differences.
I don't know whether
Mr.
you have had a
Museveni,
chance of His Excellency the President promising you to help you, to give you money. From the point of him promising you to give it to you, I don't know whether you have ever had an opportunity to actually get it as easy as he speaks it. The time, the resources you will invest in collecting what he has promised you, if you're a sick man from cancer, or from something serious, you'll even die before you collect
but at least the family confirmed that they received a lot of support from the president.
I have had a lot of information. I've been around. I even know by the time he wrote that book what had happened. I know thereafter he wrote what happened. Now that he was nearing his death, I know the efforts that were being made to mend the ties. That's why, Mr. President, if he can annoy you 10 years, and in the last year of your death, he can give you 1 billion shillings. But that does not solve the other problem. This is a chronicle. The other day you heard that Honorable Sam Kutesa spent 6 months in a German hospital treating cancer of the throat.
Cancer.
Do you think this Major
John
Kazura would afford it? Do you know how much money it is to spend 6 months in German hospital treating cancer? Do you think Major Kazura would afford it? So he would have to beg. So one of the reasons why he thinks he was betrayed is that that cancer treatment would be in Mulago here. You don't need to beg for Museveni to give you money to go and pay it again to the hospital. No, it will be the government's role to pay to treat him. Not to come here, beg for Museveni to give you 1 billion, then you pick the 1 billion, you bring it to the hospital. You have earned nothing. Why he went to the bush is that when he gives him that money, 1 billion, he puts it in the pocket for his own expenses, other life. But when he falls sick, he should go to Mulago.
Okay.
And the hospital does the what? The magic.
Thank you, Mr. Irumba Andrew. That one is a journalist, investigative journalist at that. Let me come to you, Major Kazooba. Sorry, it's not. We've been talking about a lot of majors.
Unfortunately, he's not a major.
He's not a major yet. Mr.
If you had made a mistake on him, it would still
I called Courage Brigadier. He's like, no, you can just call me Major. It's okay. But Charles,
so you have to correct the whole title.
Charles, what do you think about the fallen major? I'm talking about Major Kazooba.
I last saw him quite some years ago. He was at Kabira Country Club. I think he had just returned from medical treatment. And he was in good shape compared to his condition before treatment. I've also seen on social media so many people go back to his book, Betrayed by My Leader. Number one, it's good that he wrote something. He wrote his story. I just wish all these guys who were in the bush could also put their stories out there.
And it's a brilliant book if you've read it. Very, very
so
good.
So that the country can make a fair judgment. Who is telling the truth and who is not, and to understand exactly what happened. Now, I've listened to Andrew. I've also listened to Major Awich. But though you should not be doubting Major Awich. You see, his title. He's the boss of he's supposed to be the boss of all these intelligence services. Direct external affairs. Do you know what that means? It is the party in charge of government. You know the party is the boss of government.
Yes.
But some people here behave as though it is the government
The other way around.
that is the boss of the party.
Exactly.
So Major Awich is the boss of most of these guys, but they don't seem to appreciate. And I know, I rarely doubt his statements. He says it is not true Kazora was betrayed. Andrew, you're saying Kazora was betrayed, but I also don't doubt you, because by extension, he was your boss. By him being a husband to Honorable Kawashari, he was equally your boss. That takes me back to the bush. I've always argued, and severally, that there could have been two agendas in the bush. And people misunderstood each other. The followers of Museveni were focused on a certain agenda. But Museveni also has his agenda, which is still ongoing. Now, it appears that the followers of Museveni did not have, or they did not attempt to understand him. Not that he was so sophisticated, but they put a lot of their faith in him and could not attempt to understand what exactly was in his mind. I'll give you an example. And I see it happening even in Noop. When you see the agenda pursued by the foot soldiers and the agenda shared by a certain clique of few people, Rubongoya, probably Katana, and Bob Wine, I don't see it as one agenda.
With the foot soldier down here.
With the ones of the foot soldiers. And that is why in just 2 weeks, the foot soldiers have been attacking Bobby Wine's brothers, Nyanzi and Yahweh. if you've been following.
Yeah, I've heard of some of those sentiments.
Yeah, they were demanding that Nyanzi steps down as chairman for failing to prevail over his son, the guild president of Makere. And they have been attacking Yahweh for lamenting that he has failed to meet his little brother. Eh?
Yes.
Now, you must be very careful in the politics. Your leader, you should be able to get into his mind, understand his actions, understand his words, before you conclude that you actually share the same vision.
What did the Kazoras miss in Museveni's mind?
They did not pay a lot of the attention to where Museveni was coming from, to where he was heading as an individual. You see, it also happens when I begin a company. You may not understand my actual agenda. I will bring you on board because I have my intentions, which I may not share with you. But it is upon you to get into my mind, and at the earliest stage to determine whether you should move with me or not.
Okay.
Because when you fail at that earliest stage, then you are bound to clash. And this is why it is still problematic for most people that work with President Museveni to understand him today. Because as he employs you, you are busy focused on your job and earning. But you are not getting to the mind of the man to understand where exactly is he headed. That is why most of his employees are always goofing, that they are guessing. Do you think he wants this or he doesn't want it? Some make mistakes and they are kicked out.
Okay.
So the problem with the Kazoras, those who have disagreed with Museveni, it's not that they were wrong to disagree with him, but their disagreement is based on a wrong agenda. For theirs, the agenda they were pursuing is what the rest of the countrymen want, isn't it? But then, is it the same that President Museveni was pursuing?
So does that validate Museveni's betrayal? Does that validate that Museveni betrayed Kazora?
He might think, because he's basing his book on a wrong assumption. Museveni may not have betrayed Kazora. He might have been misunderstood by Kazora. But they are both right. So we can only conclude and say that probably President Museveni was not honest enough to share his whole with his followers.
Lastly, on that issue, what does it mean when Kyagulanyi does not speak on that burial? What did you read there in him not giving a speech at that event, being the leader of opposition, leading political opposition figure? Why didn't he speak?
He was there. He wasn't given the chance, maybe.
That's why he wasn't given a chance.
In my view, and looking at the information that has been coming in, really this was a home event. I mean home meaning that it had become an NRM thing, because all the information indicates that they were working together.
Muntu speaks.
Yes, Muntu is a homeboy.
Then Kyagulanyi comes, and Jeke Kazora, his son, was saying on X that, I know you were not given a chance to speak, but at least you saw the love that the people have for you. And
by the way, I'm also told JK, the Kazora, is not his biological son. He calls him an uncle. It is the father who was a brother to Kazora. But I mean, Chagulanyi, this thing was an...
Why wouldn't Chagulanyi speak? I think Chagulanyi has, right now he has earned the respect
But
at least to speak at such an event.
To speak what? You know, you people, it is not a matter of just speaking. To speak what? This is not, it's a private function, first of all.
Okay, I want you to juxtapose two. Sorry for bringing this, but there was Segirinya and there was Kazora. If you were to look at these two people, you remember the controversy that was done by NUP, even refusing the state burial of Segirinya, yet he was a member of parliament. And all that happened there. And then you juxtapose with this gentleman who was on the opposition, really, but at least even the opposition, one would say the opposition today, does not even have the opportunity to speak. So when you juxtapose those two.
First of all, you say that Kazora was on opposition. Was not even just at his death, was some years ago. You know, I've been asking myself.
Yes, sir.
Mushega, Amanya Mushega, Eria Kategaya, Miria Matembe, Kazora. When they disagreed with President Museveni, we did not see them get so much involved in FDC. There could have been a reason why. They stayed there, even including Kaijuka. Why? So were they actually in opposition as the country wants to perceive it? Or they stayed neutral?
I get
because for them, that group, and they have been consistent, they fell out with Museveni for overstay, beginning with the lifting of term limits.
Okay.
They are not pointing to other issues.
So they are disagreeing on principle, you mean? It's okay.
The lifting of the term limits is what led to some of them getting out. But some of the mistakes that Museveni has made, he has made them with members of that group. Some of them.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Brooke Williams Chikomeko, thank you so much for watching. You're watching outside Uganda. Then Namembe Angela, thank you so much. Godfrey Mwebaza, Ntale, Namuguzi Ntale Lud. Thank you so much for watching. NUP updates, you are also watching. You can continue sending in some of your messages. I'll be reading them as we continue with the program at just 17 minutes to the top of the hour of 8. This is the Hotline Show. My name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. Welcome to you, Major. As you also remark on some of the issues they have raised, I want us to also talk about Sam Omara, ASP Sam Omara. Also, what do you remember about this gentleman? And I'll still ask the same question. Do you think, as government, a man who served you, do you think he has been repaid well, and has he died a happy man?
Yeah, I like to start with what Kazooba said.
Please do.
He says that there could have been two agendas in the bush. The Museveni agenda as a person, and then the agenda which the Kazora knew. I just want to say is trying to think. Of course, it is not a certain position. It is not the official position. It's thinking, and it's right to think. But I like to say there was only one position, and the position was a shared thing that he has said. There used to be what is called Baraza, General Meeting of Transparency Talking, including High Command. High Command would decide, and every unit commander was instructed to periodically sit with soldiers and talk. Some of the ideas were even reflected in what we call patriotic songs. Most of the patriotic songs were not killing songs. They were songs of patriotism, which could motivate soldiers into fighting. Now, rather than say there were two agendas which could lead to misinterpretation. For example, a viewer could think possibly Museveni's agenda was to get stuck on power. And the viewer could say the agenda of Kazora was to bring democracy in what they describe as periodic change of leaders. This is not true. What is true is that when NRM captured power now, circumstances that were met demanded flexibility. For example, you now were not dealing only with fighters and cadres, but we are dealing with the big population. So their views mattered.
Yes, sir.
And some of their views is what led to constitutional amendment. Other things like economic management, you have now met the World Bank, IMF, which giving conditions, and therefore it calls for flexibility, contrary to maybe a perceived economic idea that we could have articulated. Therefore, what appeared as a change is not an implementation of an hidden agenda. What appeared as a change was a change by facing realities and challenges which needed flexibility. Even in the army, there's what we call, there are 10 principles of war. One principle of war is selection and maintenance of an objective. Meaning that if you're in City Square, your objective is to capture Makerere University. You select and maintain that objective.
You don't just fight.
But there's another principle called flexibility. Because as you reach that valley of Bat Valley, you're crossing to climb over to go to Makerere. You find the enemy has mined all those places with landmine. It had not been in your plan that you would go there and find the area is mined. Therefore, you are forced to change axis. So to manage the society is a similar thing. How to combine the two principles, selection and maintaining of an objective, at the same time the principle of flexibility. Okay. How do you marry that two? So the maintenance of this, that led to flexibility, including change of economic pursuit, economic policies, and even political, which involved amendment of the constitution and all that, is just a situation that was met on the ground. There is nothing of a hidden agenda that Museveni had and another agenda that everybody knew.
Okay.
I want to rest that at that.
Thank you.
Now, on Omara, two things about Omara. First is duty. The duty of police is to maintain law and order. Law and order means if your people are dancing in Anjenoa, dance in peace, don't break the law. If people are in church praying, pray in peace, don't break the law. If you are in the garden, dig. That is the role of police. Because the state comes in amidst us to regulate, to make sure nobody is hurting the other. Now, a part of the maintenance of law and order is crowd control. Omara was so much involved in crowd control. Crowd control is supposed to have a professional training in the police, plus rules of engagement. But sometimes when the crowd is violent, it becomes very difficult. So Omara found himself in the center of crowd control, which demands specific training of crowd control and also rules of engagement for the crowd. So sometimes he would turn violent and sometimes police would react violently towards it, and Omara sometimes would not be loved. And that is why people think that he was used.
They see him as a symbol of oppression, especially to opposition political candidates, the person of Kizza Besigye.
Yes, but that is the training in police, from the bigger role of police of maintaining law and order, to crowd control with specific training and specific rules of engagement. Now, Omara found himself in the center, and that is why it developed both love and hate. For those who thought he was controlling the crowd, loved him. For those who thought he was acting on the other side against the people, did not like him. And that is why there's this sentiment. He was used. He was used
and
and
after
wasn't
even
paid.
not paid well, he retired.
Now gives me to the pay. The police, which I think should be now at the same level of the military, the army, is that there's institutional frameworks in terms of how you serve and how you retire. When you retire, what are your benefits? And what are, like in the army, you retire, you get your gratuity. That is a one package off. And then you have the monthly retirement till death. Okay? So this is ideally the institutional framework. Now, when people said he wasn't appreciated, he wasn't paid, I think some people have a feeling that there should be a basket of money
when
for political work.
When he was sick on bed, he was footing his own bills until one media house ran his story that this gentleman served the country and he's sick. That's one would say the police, with a lot of shame, came out to say we shall now start footing the bills of our comrade.
Well, that is now an issue to draw attention. For example, I am a retired major. Would the army still take care of my medical bill, or I'm retired and completely discharged from such rights? Now, if the position of the law now is that at which you are a retired major, and therefore when you are sick, the army will not, then if the society, because we're living in a society, if the society feels that that right should be extended to us, I would welcome it. But we should look at this in the institutional framework, not in the insinuated thinking that he was used in this and therefore should be a political basket somewhere hidden. Somewhere hidden.
Okay.
Now, because if you think it should be paid that way, that means it was being used for unlawful purposes, and therefore it should be paid for that unlawful thing. Like, for example, it was used to harass opposition or do politics in police when it was not supposed to. And that is the insinuated kind of payment that people think. But if you look at it like, what are the rights of a retired major? Or what is the rights of a retired police officer? If there's a lacuna, there's a gap, then let it be discussed to say, even when you are retired, we shall take care of your rights on top of your pension and on top of your gratuity.
I remember he used to say that if you come to me and you're soft, I'll be also very soft. If you come when you're hard, I'll also be very hard. That is Samo Mana. Let me come to you, Andrew Irumba. This gentleman, some people see him, as I said, as a symbol of oppression, especially to opposition, and most especially to Dr. Kizza Besigye. You personally, what do you think about the life of this gentleman?
I think Omara was had a sense of humanity. Omara was not as brutal as I would love to project him. Only that there is what they call collective responsibility. Those guys are deployed with strict instructions from their commander. If your instruction is that don't allow Vesa to leave his gate, and you allow him to leave his gate, the punishment can be severe. In case Vesa comes to town and maybe something serious happens to him, they will accuse him and say, didn't we tell you not to allow him to leave his gate? So sometimes, even when the instructions are illegal, the army has a very, very strict disciplinary mechanism that you have to implement it.
Irumba, these days you are personally liable. That's the word they use.
Yeah.
When you are in that field, in that operation, and Irumba, you are personally liable for everything that you do.
You see, that's what the law says. That's what they say. But I have seen where we journalists have been clobbered at the embassy of the American embassy. Is that
UN?
UN.
Yes.
And we even got caught and say so and so and so. Then they summon them. They refuse to come and defend that they are protected. In fact, they even changed from Kampala and pushed somewhere else. The system makes it difficult for you to access them. You get, so the system still protects them. So, but the law says something different. So here in Uganda, there is what the law says, and there is the actual thing that happens. And the actual thing that happens supersedes the law. And we live in a life of realities. He said he's a director of external relations.
I am, not I just say.
Yes, he is. But you don't be mistaken to find that some of the things that are supposed to be handled by him in his office, sometimes they are handled by somebody else. And because him being a gentleman, he may not have to, like follow it up and push so much. He just leaves it to because there are realities in this system can actually make your driver your boss, or even your bodyguard your boss. and you come to terms with that reality. Omara, I saw how he was controlling USG and so on. I think some of the things he would do, because off camera, Omara would tell you something different from what he would say when you bring the camera.
You're going to tell me what he was saying off camera. You're watching the Hotline Show. We're just 3 minutes into the top of the hour. Let's take a break now. When we come back, we start on the issue of what Omara was telling him off camera. And of course, his life and much more. Let's
the man rest
in
peace.
Now, on this question,
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
But at church,
Tawali man, what's up?
man, can you imagine people just dump everywhere? Someone drinks water and throws the bottle wherever.
Come on, Rogers. What else do you expect people to do with an empty bottle?
Simanya now, did you know that plastics take at least 450 years to decompose?
What? That's a long time.
Exactly, because plastics are made out of a lightweight and flexible material that doesn't decompose easily. And plastics everywhere in the environment cause plastic pollution.
What is plastic pollution now?
It is the accumulation of plastic waste in the environment, like bottles, polythene bags, straws. All of these contribute to plastic pollution.
I have been using them without knowing their effect.
Yeah, a lot of people have. Plastics are a danger to the ecosystem, both on land and in water.
So how can we overcome this problem? Is there something we can do?
Oh yes, we can reduce by minimizing the use of plastics, reuse by repurposing them, or recycle by collecting and processing them into new products.
Everyone wants to change the world, but no one wants to change themselves for the world.
How about we change our habits for the world?
And it starts with me and you.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digitalk.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Hotline Show. We are into the second hour of this show and the final hour of the Hotline Show. We always here every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m. having a conversation with Uganda. Mr. Irumba, you're still completing your point.
I wouldn't love to express what he wouldn't love to have been expressed when he was alive, and now I say it when he's dead, and it wouldn't be appropriate enough. I have to give respect to his choice. But all in all, I would want to say that Omara was a good man. Was not a bad man. Only that sometimes work. There are people I read stories about, and I say, but you know, you're my friend. How can you write about me? Are you getting me?
Yes.
They think by being my friend, you should commit a crime and I should keep quiet. Actually, this I face it every day.
Yes.
There is a story I wrote something back. Somebody, I even supported somebody's candidature to lead a certain organization here. Then the next thing I find that he's involved in fraud, and I was the first person who actually promoted his candidature to lead a certain professional body here. Then tomorrow, when I got information that he was part of the fraud, They had defrauded an American businessman $1 million US, and they wrote the story. Somebody, one of his network called me, my brother Irumba, this is your brother. I said, yes. Should my brother be a thief and I keep quiet? This is what you man. So we face these challenges. But if Omara was to write a book, we go back to Kazura. I think Omara's book would also have we don't have so much difference with betrayed by my leader. The man has died in a Mulago hospital, a government hospital. But do you know that he could not afford some of the medical bills? Because they tell you Mulago hospital is free, but actually when you go there, that's when you realize that it's not free. When you go there, and you yourself there, that's when you realize that actually it is not free. So the man has died. Okay. If he had as much money as Sam Kutes has, some Omara would still be alive. If he had as much money as Sam Kutes, he would still be alive. So, in a way, if you had asked him to write a book, it wouldn't be so much different.
Served.
That's what I'm saying, that he served, but his country now at the time of need did not serve him.
Okay.
They have put him in a Mulago hospital with no medication. So you have to buy the medicine, but you know how expensive cancer treatment is. You get it? Actually, some people tell me that he had been even referred to India, but since he did not have the money, he said they will die from here. So when you serve the country, in your retirement, the country should serve you. My brother, these people, the military men, by law, they are not even supposed to leave this country. You said you are married by your country. Service. You cannot leave your country. Like now, me, if I would want, right now, tomorrow I would fly out of the country and come back after a month. A soldier will not. A police officer will not. You are married by the service. You go outside the country, you come back, officer's mess is waiting for you. So you kill all your opportunities. You get it? Even when you retire, by the way, it's not one thing that you can be allowed to move out of the... But let me finish my point.
Yes, please.
So you see that level of commitment. Even when you retire, like Omara now, Omara, it is not automatic that now that I have retired, let me go out. No. They think you are going to... you're going there to mobilize and then come back and cause havoc to your country. So they still monitor you. So you see that once you enter the military service, until you die, just like the Pope, until you die. So such a commitment, it should have also a lifetime, lifetime service towards your own life.
If the system cannot serve that person who has served it, how about me, Karuhanga?
Well, that one now we need to start questioning ourselves. That if an Omara,
exactly,
if an Omara has died like that at Mulago, then what about you, Karuhanga and Irumba Kaperi?
Yes.
So that should show you that comrade, my elder here, Major Awich Pollar, what he was saying, that I think Kazooba was not betrayed. We need to start thinking aloud.
Okay.
You know, when you go, these people, when they go to the Western, to the developed world, when they want to implement something that is not good to their citizen, they tell you that we have benchmarked. This is done in America, this is done in the UK. What they go there and benchmark are things that help them. But things that help the one-ninth, they don't talk about them. When you go to America, when you are retired army service, what happens to your life? They look after you till you die. Sometimes even when you die, your family still continues to get that payment. Your family, your wife and children. Here, you fall sick. Now, in America and the UK, a citizen, not just an army serviceman, a citizen of that country is a property of the government. When you fall sick, it is not your responsibility to treat yourself.
But even here, you're a property of government.
Yeah. When you are working, you are making money, you're property of the government because you have to pay taxes. You get it? When the government wants something from you, the thing is that you are our property. When you want the government to help you, when you fall sick, I can tell you, Edgar, that it is about you.
That's true.
And your family. You fight, you sell your properties, you sell your cows, you sell your land, you borrow money from the bank, until you treat yourself. When you get better and get back to work, on 31st of that month, government comes, they want their taxes from the business you are doing. If you had died, your coffin, when they are buying, and the water they're going to drink at your burial, government has already taxed it. The fuel they're going to use to drive cars to come to the village and bury you, government has already got it taxes. The day you get healed from your sickness, it was not with you when you are sick, but the day you get healed and get back to work, you will see NSSF knocking, you will see your air coming, you will see water bills coming. That's government. Wow. In the US, in the UK, when you fall sick, the only thing you have to do is to go to your wall and press that knob, calling for medical attention. The ambulance will be at your door. They will check you. If it needs to treat you from home, they will. If they need to take you to the hospital, they will. You are their property. Okay. Here, when you fall sick, you are not their property. When you're okay, you are their property. Now, when they are trying to copy, they will only come and copy the bad things. These governments. You have heard how much government has paid to these MPs. Each 100 million shillings. Yes. We are talking about
we are talking a bit. Yeah.
In the same week, a member of parliament came and told the government and told the parliament, this Mitiana Fort Porter Road, the contractor ran away. Now we have spent over 5-6 years without that contractor getting back to work. But the contractor needed how much money? He needed 52 billion, at least. When you cover that money, I think it is more than that. Yeah. At first, there are 100 million that was given to each MP if you 52 billion. This one wanted 53 billion. This one wanted 52 billion. So, these members of parliament, all of them, have eaten the Mitiana Fort Porter Road. But the same member of parliament is complaining on the floor of parliament. We are bad off. If you don't give us the road, we shall not elect you. You have eaten the road. Let me come to Charles. Charles, lastly, on the issue of Sam Omara, what's your message about that fallen gentleman?
There is something called power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I've been observing Ugandans here, when they get jobs in government and they have good offices, power gets into their heads and they abuse their positions. Omara could have been one of those Ugandans.
Who abused their positions?
Yes. Not necessarily that he was following instructions of his superiors. Power just got into his head. You've even seen members of parliament. The man who is a teacher today is elected to parliament, and the following day he wants a lead car. He's protected by 6 bodyguards from VIP police, counter-terrorism. Why should you be protected from your voters? You were a teacher the other day. But today you want to be protected from the same voters. They shouldn't access you. So that is corruption that comes with power. So how he handled his work, how he conducted himself, should be purely his responsibility. Mr. Karuhanga, I don't think anybody can force you to go and assault somebody. You have a choice. Everybody has a choice.
Even if I'm a soldier or a policeman, I work under command.
You have a choice. So let's not keep protecting and defending rogue elements. You have a choice. We saw Omara desert briefly. You remember? Those were the times of Chirumira. Their conduct in public as members of the police force.
Yes.
It was purely
he was one of the sureties of Kirumira.
Yes.
He was one of the
But I want you to flash back and remember how those two conducted themselves.
They were rogue, one would use that word.
It is indiscipline.
Yes.
So if they could exercise indiscipline within the force, what about when they were in charge of operations?
But standing for your brother who is in trouble is not really
No, I'm not.
That would be indiscipline in the face of the Uganda police force.
You remember that he deserted, and he deserted and ran to his up country.
Tororo, I think.
He had to be summoned back. And the man who,
but he did not desert.
He was,
you're using
he had deserted duty. Behaving as if you are in charge of the whole country. That is unacceptable. So if he could do that, what about when he was in charge of a particular operation? So those excesses should be shouldered by him. Anybody that behaves in a rogue way, please do not blame others for your actions. You begin hiding. No, that cannot be accepted. So on that note, I believe Omara, but good thing is that he apologized.
Yes.
When he was on his sick bed and said, well, Ugandans, forgive me. I might have been blinded.
The only man I've seen apologize is Sejusa. He's the one who also came out to apologize. It's seldom that you find such men with power come out to say, please, people, Ugandans, I am sorry.
Yes, but also we should not just forgive in a blanket manner that we've forgiven you for all your actions. Some of these guys, we should hold them responsible. You can't just keep mistreating Ugandans and we just let you off anyhow. Now,
yes, sir.
Omara had been taken over by Right Honorable Mike Mukura. He employed him to head his private security organization. Actually, that's when he announced that he had gotten sick. And of course, treatment abroad is quite expensive. I don't think police would even afford it.
Okay.
Given their mega budget, it is impossible that they could have afforded his treatment. But in a totality, and I agree with Andrew,
yes, sir,
that when you have privilege, when you are employed in government, advocate for better systems, advocate for better social services. Let hospitals be functional. Let schools be functional. Let medicine be there. Let roads be good. Because when you are kicked out or when you retire, the things you did not talk about, you are going to meet them. I see members of parliament here cruising in very expensive Land Cruisers when they become ministers. But the man is kicked out of office. He can't even afford a Forester to drive it. You ask yourself, what did you do all the time that you are in a government office? So they begin lamenting. I saw General Kaleki the other day also lamenting, I can't access a loan.
But he came out to say he's actually okay.
But what did you do when you had opportunity to interface with the president?
Okay.
Why couldn't you tell him these problems and provide solutions?
Charles, you're also going to go to parliament. We shall see how you will be saying.
Yes, me, I'll keep shouting.
Thank you so much. Let's get to the topical discussion of the day. Are political parties capable of enforcing members' discipline? Honorable Awich, I'm going to start with you. And this thing called members' discipline, what is members' discipline, especially when it comes to political parties? And in the case of the National Resistance Movement, how disciplined is the political party and its members ahead of 2026?
Yeah. Political discipline in a political party means the good behavior of party members inside in the party.
Yes, sir.
That is towards each other, to members towards fellow members, but also a good behavior of party members towards other parties. So it is both intra and inter. Because we live in a society, once again, where we should live in law and order. And therefore, within the party, you should live not to hurt your friends. But also in the party, we should live not to hurt our other friends in the political party, in other political parties. Therefore, under the law in Uganda, each political party is supposed to have a code of conduct. And this code of conduct is supposed to be declared to Election Commission or registered with Election Commission. Do you know that the only party which has a code of conduct is NRM?
What's the difference? Are you talking about the rules and regulations, constitution?
No, the constitution is
different.
There, and the code of conduct is different.
Okay.
In other words, the code of conduct tells you do's and do nots. If you do this, this is the punishment. So this code of conduct, as I started earlier, is supposed to conduct my behavior in NRM, how I behave to fellow party members or to authorities, but also by extension, how I behave to NUP, for example, to UPC. So,
do you want to give us some of those codes of conducts that you have in the National Resistance Movement? Because ideal, as you say, I've not seen any other political party, at least the ones I know, that has a code of conduct. Some of them have a constitution, but not a code of conduct.
PLU also has a code of conduct. I've seen it.
PLU?
It's not a
It's not a political party.
It's not a political party.
Group, but I've also
Now,
seen their code
I wish you allowed me to flow. Maybe I would reach there.
Please do.
Yes. So I was saying that, therefore, the discipline, as I've already defined, as the good behavior of a party member towards fellow party members, but also a good behavior of party members towards other political party members.
Yes, sir.
That is what we call discipline. And therefore, the country envisages that every political party should have a code of conduct.
Yes, please.
And as I was saying, it is only NRM with a code of conduct. The other party that talks of a code of conduct is UPC. But it only says in their constitution that there shall be a code of conduct. But they have never sat down to say this is what the constitution demanded us to do.
Since the inception.
They don't have. Now, like every constitution, a constitution provision is a grand norm. It should be followed by specific legislation.
Exactly.
For example, if Article 219 of the Constitution provides that there shall be a National Security Council, which shall be the supreme body to govern security in Uganda. It can even say Parliament shall pass a law to provide for National Security Council. So under that Article 219, Parliament will again subsequently pass a law called the National Security Council Act.
Yes.
Therefore, UPC should have passed what is called the Code of Conduct for
Act.
UPC.
Yes, which had those deliberations.
Yes. So for us we have,
okay.
For example, to conduct internally, it says, if you're a party member and you support an opposition candidate, you're supposed to be chased from the party. That is what the Code of Conduct provides. And of course, I can't remember exact phrasing, but there's a provision which provides your discipline with the public. As I keep telling you, a good lawyer is not the one who crams, but knows where to get it. If I knew, I wish I had come with because it's annexed to the Constitution. For us, it's not even a separate document. It is annexed to the extent that our party can have a tribunal. Even a village NRM in a particular village can sit and discipline a party member. Even a NRM and it has levels of disciplinary procedures. So we have disciplinary committees. Therefore, if political parties are hidden to the laws about discipline, By now, each electoral commission should have known the code of conduct of NUP, the code of conduct of UPC, the code of all the parties, because the law demands that give it to electoral commission. But we have not been doing it. It is on the NRM. Therefore, to answer your question clearly is to say a code of conduct or party discipline, as you say, is a discipline of party members, both internal and external.
Where does this fall when you had party primaries and then some people did not feel comfortable and they went ahead to compete against your candidate in the general election? How does
in the
that
code
work
of
out?
conduct, that should be a very grave offense, which is punishable by dismission. But also we have considered in the party that the enforcement of the law has not yet been perfect. You know, we have laws. Even in Uganda, at the national level, there are laws that are idle and redundant. Laws that are in statute books, but they are not enforced. For example, for a long time we have had what is called Nguli Act. Nguli Act means if a police gets somebody drinking kasese or lera, he should be in prison. But how many people have been in prison for Nguli Act? Another law, for a long time we used to have a law called Karamoja Act. Karamoja Act provided that if three Karamojong are found together, they should be sent to jail, because the presumption is that they are either planning to go and raid or they have actually come from a raid. Meaning that even if you get them in Makerere University or even in the State House in Entebbe, the law says so. So those are some of the laws. So
is your political party implementing the laws, the laws that are good for you?
You know, so I wanted to say,
because that has happened many times.
I gave the example I wanted to illustrate with the NRM in that many people have stood against each other. You have had a district NRM chairman standing against as an independent. For example, in a Shema, Dr. Elioda is the chairman, was a chairman NRM. But he went ahead after primary to stand as an independent. Recently, a member of parliament raised on the floor of on the floor of a caucus, that you people in the party, are we getting serious? Because President Museveni was in Sudan, and His Excellency Lupu was chairing the caucus. And a member of parliament raised and said, but we are being chaired by an independent. This is a caucus movement, but we are being chaired by, you remember, Vice President Lupu is an independent. Therefore, sometimes because the party doesn't want to be so hard, we have had situations where those provisions of the law have not been implemented.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, and I'm arguing really the party to a little serious. Because, for example, in Lira, you find a chairman of youth for the city. Like we had election of by-election when Okelengola was shot, when the minister was killed.
Yes, sir.
Somebody goes on the radio and says, with no iota of truth, that President Museveni has given 5 billion to, let's say, so and so from the secretariat to come for this campaign. They have eaten the money. Here is an NRM person speaking. So the code of conduct is envisaged to discipline such a reckless person. Because if this man is talking as a party leader and is making such wild allegations, so people go for this campaign and say, why would we be here? Billions have been sent and it is being eaten. So such situations are really dangerous. So you have a party person who holds a position standing against. Is a district chairman of the party in his own district, is standing against a flag bearer. Okay. You have somebody who stood like a Excellency Lupu, stood as an independent and is elected. So the enforcement of laws, just like other laws, I gave you the Nguli Act, the Karamoja Act, many laws are not enforced. And we have the challenges there too. All right, we're going to start on that, those issues, some of the challenges and how they can be solved. Mr. Irumba, on this issue of members' discipline, I want us to also spotlight on the opposition. But before we even look at the opposition, he paints a certain picture of glitz and glamour, especially in the national resistance movement. They have the code of conduct, they are doing the job, they have the systems to the last individual on ground. What do you see in what he's saying, but also, does the opposition, especially the National Unity Platform, since it's the leading opposition party,
have this control over their members?
First of all, if it is true that they have a code of conduct,
It is true. Not
then, then that, no.
I can show you
Don't
even.
worry.
Should be online.
Don't worry.
It's okay.
Should be online.
You are digitized,
Don't
even
worry.
your members are online. Yes, sir.
There is having a car. Driving it is another. If it is true that they have that code of conduct, it's as good as UPC who doesn't have.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Is there a code of conduct in NRM that allows people to be bribed like you are buying off, Kawaragara? I'm sure the code of conduct doesn't allow that, but they are doing it. So is that code of conduct effective? The president recently said, yes, I gave them 100 million each. But you who are talking about it, why don't you also talk about the LGBTQ money that you are getting? No, what does your code of conduct say about you bribing your members? Forget about the opposition. What is your code of conduct saying about that? You get it?
He will answer.
So, NRM has so many things. When you go there, they give you a book. This is what it is. But is it effective? You saw the other day what happened to Sechikubu. Did you follow the president's rally in Zimbabwe? What does their code of conduct say about? Because this is NRM members. Sechikubu is NRM, the president, the chairman, Kawoya Nifa, Sam Kutesa, all that quagmire that happened, it's members.
The Sodo Kushatsu,
Yes.
Sodo Kaguta.
So what does their code of conduct say about that kind of indiscipline? And what is the punishment? And who is going to administer the punishment? Who is going to call the disciplinary committee? Who is going to chair? So, does the parties have the strength?
If you ask those questions, you ask them also to the opposition parties.
Yeah,
so exactly.
what I'm asking is general.
Yeah.
It is not about NRM alone. But NRM takes the bigger portion because they are the ones in power. If NRM was to inculcate a culture of discipline, Erioda was a member of NRM, but when he was denied an NRM party card, he stood as an independent. Flag. Yeah. He stood as an independent. But still, they took him, up to now, they took him as a party member. And he still does everything a member does, including paying for the membership and so on. You get it? They take the money. So
we don't pay membership.
This internal cohesion, party discipline, is something that eluded them. And so because they're in power, it's very easy for the rest of the opposition parties to learn from them. If NRM was really moving on a path that is well defined in terms of discipline and so on, every party that comes in would be falling in simply. But because they're also like that, so every other party that begins, they also behave like so. Right from the top leadership, there are things. You remember how Amama Mbabazi lost the Secretarial General position, and it was immediately changed, and so the Secretary General of the NRM now is an appointment of the president, and so on. You remember what happened? If the internal mechanisms were able to check the powers of the president, this wouldn't have happened.
Let's talk also about the internal democracies in these political parties.
Of course.
How is it also, especially opposition? You're building on NRM, which is running government, as you say. But how about these people who we look at as the alternative government?
Yeah. Now, I was still building my point.
Yes, sir.
If we talk about at least the internal democracy, your brother now, you see when there are two when there are two bad things, what happens is that you're not looking for the good one. You're looking for at least a better one from the two.
Yes.
If you have two lame people, but they have told you bring somebody who can run, you will pick the one that at least has one leg, but they're all lame. So, if it's about democracy, at least you'd rather be with NRM, because You see that Sekikubu and Tinkasimiri. There's a lot that they have disagreed with the status quo, including the commander-in-chief.
Yes.
And chairman. But they have still, found a room to maintain them. This does not happen in NUP, it does not happen in FDC. You can see right now what is happening to these members of parliament, the likes of this woman MP,
Joyce
Bagala, how they treat the members. Now, Tinka Simir and the Sechikubu, with all the arguments they used to raise against the status quo on the age limit and the term limits and everything, they would still find the solace in their party. They will not be discarded.
They still stay.
Yes.
You still find them there. Even the NIM caucus, they are there.
Yes. Even in the State House, when the president is calling the members, his NIM members to go and caucus in the State House, the first people to jump on the bus will be these two. And the president meets them and even shakes their hand with them and even laughs with them and breaks jokes with them. This does not happen in the opposition parties, especially the NUP now I'm seeing. You just see. Bagala has asked them one question. You want me to apologize? That's okay. It is human. Tell me my wrong. Tell me what I have done wrong. I apologize. No. Nobody is even willing to listen. No, they have not even invited her to a meeting. You see, Museveni sometimes accuse him of every time there is some likelihood of causing some fracture or puncture in any party. The first thing Museveni thinks about is to call all his members for caucusing. They come out with one position. Whether it is wrong or right, that is. That's why I've heard that they are going to win this battle of reinstating the court martial. It is a wrong thing, but they have gone there, they have whipped them, those who oppose it. And they are coming back with one position. Wrong position, but it's one. In NUP, it doesn't happen. A woman like Bagala, a man like Mathias Mpuga, a man like this one of Makinde here, the former sports journalist here.
Alan Sewanya. No, I can give you I was with Bigirwa today morning, and he said he was never heard when he was being dismissed from the national platform. And he said, this is ironical for lawyers who are leading this party. They fire you on social media. So, I was telling you, these people, if there was any disagreement, the first thing a sane leader would do would be to summon them into the party offices. The leadership of the party sits with them. First of all, you who has summoned them, you tell them where they could be going wrong. Some of them can learn their mistakes and even apologize. You get it? But you are simply addressing them in social media. Irumba, we have what they call, Mbide calls it gladiatorial politics, where everyone feels they are a king in their own realm. Where one, if you are told apologize, they feel, how am I apologizing to you? I cannot apologize to you. I am this person. I am such a member of parliament. I am this. So everyone is a gladiator. How can you make gladiators accountable? No, the point I was raising is this gladiatorial behavior begins with the leadership. Because you as a leader, if Irumba has strayed out of the way, what is your first role as his leader? You are first supposed to call him and whip him back into the line by telling him, my brother, you have gone wrong. These ones don't do it. They come to social media to criticize you. I want to give you a clear example. As you conclude. There is a time when Kagabo, at the height of that money heist at parliament, Kagabo said, I have received this money. 40 million. Take it back to my leader. Of opposition. My leader helps me to take it back to where it came from. What the leader would have done, the leader of opposition in Puga at that time, was to receive him with both hands, thank him, so that he feels good about his action, to rethink, because now he has rethought about his action towards the party. He's regretting it. He has brought you the money. Do you know how he was received? He became the most hated person.
That's why he has ended up in NRM.
Everybody was chasing him away. Nobody wanted to affiliate with him.
Where did you get the money?
You take it back where you got it.
A person of Mpuga would have embraced the man. Even accompany him to the speaker's chamber. Whenever they got the money, go with him as your leader. Let him hand over the money. But
yes,
how they handled the whole man, the man felt the party did not actually defend him. They also pushed him. Now here the NRM has pushed him because he has now exposed them. Now his party has also pushed him, so he's in the middle of nowhere. That's how he ended up in NRM and PLOU. Not that he loved to be where he is now. The NRM party is the mass party.
Okay.
But when his members go astray, the first attempt, many times, not once, they call him to order. To the extent that when you fail to listen to the Secretary General, Richard Todum, he makes attempts to talk to the president. Because when the president calls you, now you know this is serious. Until you are whipped back into the party.
Yes.
But NRM would be saying, you don't want them to come, you go.
It's because they're actually the stronger ones. Yes,
it is opposition doing so.
Thank you.
Opposition on the NRM, who needs more people?
Irumba, let me bring in Kazooba. Kazooba, then how do we whip such leaders, or how do those political parties do this? Because it feels like you want this person to go in line with you, but the politics today is that you either get out or you obey me. It's either me or you are out. How do we go about that? Especially in the opposition.
We still have a challenge as a country that we tend to think in the individual merit perspective. And the reason is just one. The internal democracy in the so-called political parties is non-existent. It's nowhere. A leader of a party will sit and approve those that he wants in certain positions. And if that is done, it does not matter. Up to now, I query how Narukora got into parliament, for instance. Yes, I don't doubt his credentials. But was the process democratic?
According to what you saw, was it democratic? And just for the benefit of our audience, there was even a parliamentary debate where everybody who wanted the ticket of the National Unity Platform was arraigned in front of the public, live on TV, and they were seen according to their capabilities to represent their members, and according to the general perspective and the Electoral Commission of the National Unity Platform, that was the best candidate to have their ticket.
How did they arrive at that, for instance? Was there voting within the party for that particular constituency internally? It did not happen. I even saw this man who did Meg Like Me complaining in Sereko. Yes, he actually was attacking Narukora directly throughout his campaigns. Now, it is true that we don't appreciate a functional multi-party system. Maybe it does not favor certain interests, but we want to use parties as vehicles for power, to attain power. But the mindset is purely individual merit. And the biggest justification for that is that political parties are not recruiting young people. You know, parties should be recruiting from secondary schools up to university, and they identify potential. As well as that, then train these young people, even indoctrinate them. So
Indoctrinating is negative.
Yes.
Indoctrinating is negative.
But that is the reality.
That's what they are doing.
Indoctrinate them
So
that when time comes for positions within the party, they are ably deployed. Now you don't have this guesswork who will come through in which constituency. Then you begin picking around. Somebody was a teacher, a master, somebody was he owns a fleet of buses. Hey, you man, why don't you come and represent our party in that constituency? So this head hunting shouldn't be happening, because you're going to bring somebody who will posture around as if he's bigger than the party in a particular constituency. Look at what is happening right now in December with Sechkubo's constituency.
Lemiaga.
Yes, there's somebody called Rwashande.
General Rwashande.
He wants that constituency, but you're going to see what will happen. You just wait. If we are not careful, people will die. They will shed the blood.
There is already a lot of commotion happening as we speak.
Can a party, therefore, discipline this person who behaves as if he's bigger than the political party? It is very much possible.
How?
You see, it is the parties that have made independence big-headed, because they have failed to effect internal discipline. But it is very, very much possible.
And let's use the example of NUP. You've just come, you have members who would say are already made in the political environment of this country. You have a president who has not been in the politics for this country for even more than 10 years. He's new. Even some people look at him and say, who are you to tell me? I have been here before. So how does that work when the leadership is not respected by the members? And the fact is, you can look at the member and he says, I am self-made. I was here. You've had one politician say, I was here before Kyagulanyi. So tongamba Kyagulanyi. Directly translated.
You've brought a very complicated example of NUP. Because you see me, I've never seen NUP as a party.
You see it as well?
It is some outfit there. Reason being one, how did this NUP, the current one, come into existence? I mean, it came into existence fraudulently. That we should appreciate. That there was a fraud in creating this NUP. Now, a fraudulent organization, how does it affect rules? It becomes a little bit complicated. But let's look at, for instance, FDC. FDC, for quite some time, was a role model for many. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Until, of course, Major Awich and his people infiltrated it by using money. And you know, when you're on the street for a long time, you want money,
because FDC had beautiful democracy,
but if
people changing.
If you looked at their rules,
accountability.
And their rules were very strict that some people had to abandon the party. You remember Betcam? Yes. So, NRM can do it. But the problem now with NRM is that President Museveni is by nature not a multi-partist. He doesn't believe in political party business. That is why even up to today, he identifies with NRA and Foronasa, which are not even registered political organizations, but they exist. You understand? And when he's talking about NRM, most people confuse him with the current NRM. No, it's the man is talking about the NRM of 1996.
The NRA.
That one he reminds you because it's the original.
And why? Because he sees a lot of indiscipline in the current one.
But one would say
indiscipline, a lot of corruption, unlike in the previous NRM.
Charles, how did you to answer this? Because at least Mr. Museveni has shown that when he speaks, at least his members can listen. He commands a certain authority there. But it's the difference with National Unity Platform. It feels like there's not much respect. And yet this is the alternative leading opposition political party. Let's speak as a reality right now. It is. And even going to the 2026 elections, it is. How does he control those members, Chagulanyi?
He cannot. Because first of all, by the original party constitution, he doesn't have any power. He's the deputy president that has power, not the president. So by that constitution itself, he doesn't have powers.
Okay.
But how can we help NUP? NUP has to go back to the drawing board. And if it is to go back to the drawing board, they have to invite all members, the way they started as people power, so that they listen to each other.
Okay.
And start afresh. Okay. But if they are going to behave as if...
How do they start afresh when they feel they are actually, they are okay?
No, they are not okay. You just give them 5 more years. There will be no more. NUP will not be existing. We shall have another bandwagon.
By a foreign influence or by their own making?
No, the contradictions, the internal contradictions. I have told you, and you keep observing, in the last 2 weeks, Bobby Wine's brothers have been attacked by the foot soldiers.
Even the brothers,
the next will
one of the brothers is attacking the system.
You just wait, the next will be his wife. And from his wife it will be his children. And then they will be in their bedroom.
Wow.
I'm telling you.
Let me come to Major. Major, he paints a gloomy picture. This gentleman talked about bribing. If your political party is that strong and it has control over its members, why does it need to buy them off to do some things for the political party? That's the first thing. Then you also, Charles Zanu mentioned this recruitment. NRM lately is recruiting from other political parties. Don't you no longer have these grassroots systems that are bringing young people,
new blood,
as he said, new blood to actually... But even, does the new blood have a voice in that political party?
Okay, I've got the 2 questions. I've answered it. I mean, I have written it. I will answer, but permit me just to go through briefly what they have said.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to say on the issue of discipline that we have, as I had earlier, layers of disciplinary committee. Ending with the highest disciplinary committee we have in the party is chaired by Haji Kigongo. Okay? So that is generally to take care of our discipline. Now, the other thing that we have running parallelly is what we call a tribunal. Tribunal sits in electoral commission. For example, when we are going to have primaries, and people will come with all sorts of complaints. So our constitution says before you go to the courts of law of Uganda, exhaust the remedies here. So we shall be having tribunals to try to set out amicably issues among our party members. So we do believe that when we do that, we are able to have a disciplined party members, both internally, among them party members, but also with our other colleagues.
Yes,
now this takes me to another comment on the issue of the rebel MP. I'm glad that you people appreciate that for us in the NRM, even when rebel MPs talk, they are not chased from the party. And they are very healthy. For example, let me give you a concrete example of what Tinkasimire did in 2016. In 2016, Tinka Simire, after the election of members of parliament, they sat as a caucus, and the president was there. He raised a very serious issue to the president that why is it that in Lango you are hell-bent on appointing opposition as ministers? You have left our NRM cadres. Because that was when the president had appointed Amoy, the current minister of gender, and Acheng, the ambassador who was recently chased from Canada. She had been appointed Minister of State for Fisheries. So they had appointed 2 from UPC. It is from the argument of your rebel MP, Tinka Simire, that the president said, okay, I've heard your point. I'm going to call leaders from Lango, NRM, and meet them. I was one of them. We were in status for 2 consecutive days. 2 days, like today and tomorrow. In fact, we were booked in a Pope Paul Memorial, brought by police to sleep there, in a convoy to sleep there. The following morning, taken back. The point here I'm making is, how can the party listen to a rebel member? Which you people agree that if it was in Inupi, would have been kicked away.
According to the track record, really.
Yes, but here is a rebel member of parliament, member of the party, the rebel in quotes and quotes, but says his views, and the president listened. Now, it was in the 2 days meeting that the president had to negotiate with the Lango NRM to say, let us what? Leave the fisheries lady. He said, I will give my daughter, and that's when she was appointed ambassador. But you can imagine, from the argument of a rebel member,
it changed an entire position.
Changed entirely. And even made the following morning a moment to appear before us and discuss with us how she would work with us. Okay? So, for us in the party, we listen to divergent views. And we also appreciate that the rebel MPs don't go out of to leave the party because their views are not heard. But we hear them. Now, about recruitment, we recruit 16 years. That is why people have been saying that NRM register is big. How can election commission have this and you have that? 19 million subtract those who are not going to vote. In other words, our recruitment of members is from 16 years and above. So if you didn't know, you should know that the party actually recruits.
Influence these people that you recruit? How influential are they in the political party? Well, we have seen people who have crossed from opposition and have taken over big positions in the political party.
Well, first I wanted to make you people and the viewers know that we recruit.
You do?
Yes. And also that we don't indoctrinate. I don't know, Kazooba says they should be indoctrinated. I don't know what is the definition of indoctrination means. Indoctrination is taken with negativity.
Yes.
And that is why you have heard in the Middle East, there's this joke where they said, and a Jew buys a toy for a child. When the child loves the toy, he removes the toy away and tells the child, Palestinian has taken your toy. And it is believed that the reverse is true. And recently,
as you conclude,
recently, I wonder why I feel like you are giving me little time compared to my friend. It's
a feeling.
I have noticed it.
It's a feeling.
I have noticed it. I have noticed it.
No, we are coming to the end of the show.
So that is why recently in Mitiana, there was that lady who was like disabled or what. You remember what she was telling the children? That is very wrong. That is indoctrination. Where she was telling people about this, that is indoctrination carries negativity.
Can't you survive without money?
Negativity.
As a political party, can't you thrive without?
We need money for our operations, but not dishing out to people as it is. So we now, why buy them? We don't buy anybody.
That's what I'm saying. Why?
We don't buy anybody.
Motivate them.
We don't. For example, recently I was involved in the negotiation of 11 MPs from Acholi to work with NRM. You saw it on the newspaper. I negotiated, but there was no buying. I negotiated 11 non-NRM members of parliament from Acholi to join. How much did we buy them? We don't buy. Then the other thing is a method of recruitment and voice. Yeah, we already answered about
Mr. Irumba, as you conclude, sir, just give us your parting shots because we are coming to the end of this conversation. I also always want to ask that what next for the country if we stay with such a mindset, with such a system, with such thinking.
But you see, my mindset is actually crazy. I don't believe that we still need the political parties in Uganda. I don't even believe that we still need elections in Uganda. My brother, when did the UK elect their president? United Kingdom. Did they ever? Are we different from how better are we from them? Even here, these UAE countries, it's monarch, and they are better than us.
So
Look at Dubai.
So we just live.
Do you know how much money Uganda spends every 5 years? And by the way, we are just counting 5 years. Uganda goes into another election. The moment they declare the winner for 2021 to 2026, politics begin immediately. The president begins to dish out money, start appointing ministers according to how the region is elected, voted him. You get it? Politics begins immediately. So, for the last 40 years of NRM, we have never rested from politicking. And this process, we spend billions of money. This money would have gone into construction of new roads, would have gone into construction of new hospitals, and putting facilities in the medical fraternity much better. People are dying of cancer. Right now, Omara is one of the victims now. Sam Kutes has survived because he has gone to Germany. If he didn't have money to go to Germany, he would be dead now. Medza Kakoza is in grave because Kazora is because the country Uganda has not saved enough money from politicking to empower their own medical facilities. So people are dying not because they are supposed to die.
Yes, sir.
God does not need to live with Ugandans so often than Chinese and so on. But it is because we don't have medical facilities that can. Because cancer is a treatable disease. But it is expensive for an individual Ugandan to treat it. So that's why we are dying. Yes. So for me, if you asked me, we don't need the politics in Uganda. We don't need it. We just need a leader. Let him come and as long as, for me, what I'm interested in is to see Mitiana for the Porto Road, in a better state.
Thank you.
For me, what I'm interested in is to go to Mulago when I'm sick to get treatment.
Thank you, sir. Ali Ayeko says, NOP is 4 years old and you're comparing it with 40 years of NRM. NRM is building itself, hence it cannot entertain traitors at inception. I think you wanted, NOP is building itself and it cannot entertain traitors at inception. The rebellion of these MPs has been to attack the party and its president and so many core issues, including forming a new political party called the DA. Your argument is incomprehensible. He continues to say, which NRM rebel formed a party or parallel outfit to counter NRM and even went ahead to register it? Then lastly is Brooke Williams. You say, is America poor because of elections? Then Sunday Serunjoji Victor, thank you so much for watching. You say you are glad to be here. We're glad to have you. Mr. Kazooba, as we conclude your parting shots.
Andrew raises a very pertinent issue. And for quite some time I've been thinking about it also. There is also a global debate whether democracy is still relevant. Does it help everybody? Because it appears to be discriminatory. If somebody is in government, then those that did not support him to go into government suffer. So there is a debate that probably we should look at another system of government, not necessarily democracy, or if it is democracy, then we should redefine that democracy.
Our type of democracy.
Yes, to suit our needs.
Okay.
For instance, President Museveni is in charge of everything after winning, isn't it? Kyagulanyi got how many? 30-something?
36%.
So those who supported Kyagulanyi don't share the cake.
The winner takes it all.
And that is why you see a lot of hostility, especially from the young people. But had Kyagulanyi become, for instance, a prime minister and Museveni is the president, this country would be one unit because everybody is sharing the cake. So in future, we could look at a different system of government, so that we all benefit and we all serve our own people.
Thank you so much, Charles Kazooba.
There's one message I just want to share, that we have talked of the death of Kazora and Omara. Today we lost another Colonel Otoa. Colonel Otoa was an army MP for 2 terms in Parliament. He died today at around 2. So I just wanted to say that is also worth a person to remember. Yeah, Colonel Tony Otoa was a member of Parliament representing UPDF for 2 terms.
Wow. Thank you so much. May their souls rest in eternal peace. The gentleman is Charles Kazooba, Andrew Irumba, and retired Major Pollar Awich. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for always honoring our invitation to come here on Digital TV. Thank you so much. And our viewer, thank you so much for tuning in from the time we started up to now. And in fact, those people who continue to watch us literally each and every day. We are so grateful. Even you who don't have this feed right now, but you go on later on and watch the show, it's always privileging and an honor to have you on Digital TV. What you can do is just look at that subscribe button just on the downside of your screen. You can subscribe to our channel. That makes us actually gain more, and when we have more viewers, we actually get you better guests and have better conversations, and actually even stream from better places. So please subscribe, share this feed to as many people as you can. We are live on Facebook, we are live on X, we are live on YouTube. You can find us there at The Alternative Uganda, but also at Digitalk TV. From the entire team, my name is Edgar Mathew Karuhanga. I'll see you again tomorrow at exactly 8 a.m. We'll be here having a conversation with Uganda. Good evening and God bless you.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.